can really stand out. It's here.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
Hello and good morning to you. Welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola and you're currently listening to Trends in the Papers. And just like the name depicts, we're having conversations about trending stories as reported on the front pages of our dailies. Welcome again to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. For today's conversation, or as always, I do not do this by myself. We're usually joined virtually by Fuad Said, who usually gives analysis to the stories that we analyze in the mornings. Those are stories that are reported in the papers. It's the 15th day in the month of June. We're halfway through the month. In another 15 days, we would be done with the month of June. The year is progressing really rapidly. We don't have any complaints whatsoever because there are a number of events that we're all looking forward to. 2 weeks now, we've had 2 weeks, a few days. We've had a new president, and a lot of things have happened. He did say he was going to hit the ground running, and he has been running. It's been a lot of speed with regards to certain suspensions, certain probes that have been happening. We've had conversations about certain bills that have been signed into law. Of course, the infamous subsidy removal conversation that triggered the market and caused a reaction of some kind, although we've seen something of a respite over the last couple of days, I guess. The prices are not exactly as low as they were before, but it's low compared to the initial periods or the initial days that this new administration took over power. We do have Fuad Said on standby already. Let's say our hellos and get straight into what we have for this morning. Fuad, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Sage, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I was trying to summarize everything that has happened in the past 2 weeks with suspensions and how the market is reacting to certain things and bills that have been signed into law, and how economists and political analysts are projecting that these decisions that have been made over the course of the 2 weeks would impact the country in the long term. And I think majority of these things are still developing stories because the papers are still giving us information about events that have happened over the course of this new administration's tenure. That's about 2 weeks and a few days. We do have the papers here. You want to comment on that, Fuad? You want to make a comment?
I wanted to say that we demanded for a president that will be able to ground running.
Yes.
And like you just said in your intro, he's running. He's actually running.
He is.
That's running too. I really
Fuad, the quality of this call is very, very bad. Is there a way we can address?
Is it better now?
Okay, yes, please.
So what I said was that, look, we actually demanded to have a president that would hit the ground running. And I'm up to that to a large extent. He has been running. The new president has been running. But where he's running to?
You don't know, Abby.
I think you to discover that. It's too early in the day to say this is where exactly he's running to. Like you said, he has been signing, he's been making suspensions, he's been making statements. I think it's too early for me to really say this is the direction exactly where it's running. So I think we need to calm down and begin to, take stock of this event and then see what happens eventually.
Right. Optimism. We have to express at least some level of optimism, even if, certain analysts, certain experts are telling us that there might be consequences to some of the decisions that have been made so far. The papers are here: Guardian, Punch, The Nation, and last but not least, a Vanguard newspaper. We can begin today's conversation with the Guardian newspaper. Let's do that. A top story here, we're talking about what's going on in the economic sector of the country. Naira slumps as CBN commences rate harmonization, faces supply hurdle. Guardian newspaper has done us a favor by giving us some sort of representation of what the naira to the dollar was under different leaders in different years. If you would allow me, in 1999 under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, we had 97 naira to a dollar. Under the late Omar Musa Yar'Adua in 2010, we had 147.6 naira to a dollar. Under former President Goodluck Jonathan, 2015, we had 196.5 naira to a dollar. 2023, under the past president Muhammadu Buhari, we had 462 naira per dollar. And now, under the new administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have about 664 naira per dollar. Now, this increase, there's an explanation for that in the paper. So let's look at the story and then talk about this extensively and explain why this is the situation. The writers to this story: local currency loses 61% to dollar at official market. Bank parallel market rates converge at 755 naira. The importers and exporters window rates fall by 29% to 664 naira to a dollar. Apex Bank stops RT200 Forex program. Government transactions to be executed using importers and exporters window. Stakeholders describe decision as courageous. Decision could mean free fall of local currency, analysts fear. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, might have embraced the painful but realistic path to foreign exchange rate convergence, adopting a clean float at the interbank market. The option, a liberalist move that supports the interplay of demand and supply to determine the equilibrium rate, saw the Apex Bank pulling the trigger on naira at the bank rate, which plunged from about 466 naira to a dollar it traded on Wednesday to between 750 naira to a dollar and 755 naira to a dollar yesterday. So, Fuad, let's have a conversation about this. We've spoken about, or well, the president, even when he was campaigning, spoke about the fact that there might be a need for us to harmonize foreign exchange. There's no need for an official rate and a parallel rate. And in your previous analysis, you said something like, if we are harmonizing, what are we doing? Are we adopting the parallels market rate, or are we adopting the official market rate? It might seem like we're tilting towards adopting the parallel market rates because the harmonization plan caused an increase in even the official rate, 750 naira to a dollar, and even 755 at some rates to a dollar. Now, as much as analysts are saying in the long run this is going to help us at the end of the day, because people would not now need to go to the Bureau de Change, the parallel markets to exchange. They can just operate with the Central Bank of Nigeria. And also they're floating the naira, a currency float that removes the fixed price cap on forex, so multiple people can trade forex at whatever price they seem to find best suited for whatever business operation that they are running. So this decision by the Central Bank of Nigeria, they have directed deposit money banks to adopt this currency float system. In the short term, do you see this beneficial? In the long term, do you think the harmonization might be something that would help bring something of common sense to how we exchange at the foreign exchange market?
Sage, basically this is a response to, again, the lack of accountability in the management of our forex, especially by the CBN when it comes to official rates and the parallel market rate.
Yes.
And so the reason why we are quickly adopting this particular policy is because of the lack of accountability. It's not that, again, the idea of having two markets, for example, the official and parallel, is a problem in itself. Basically, what the idea was supposed to do was to help engender some sectors like the manufacturing sector and some other sectors that need that kind of support. But again, like everything good that we try to introduce, it looks nice on the paper. And when it comes to implementation, people find the ways to mess it up completely. So here we are now that we are now saying, let the forces of demand and supply determine what happens at the forex market.
Yeah.
The immediate gain, because what it means is that we can bring some level of promise to our management of forex, so people don't take advantage of what we used to do. Take advantage of get dollars at official rate and sell and make humongous amount of money without doing anything practically. On that level, yes, it's a fantastic decision. But I have my say.
Okay. Because
again, I think at the end of the day, we are trying to run an extreme capitalist economy that will now become an economy to now become the survival of the fittest. If you understand what I'm saying. So that means the guy with the biggest, the deepest and the biggest fortress takes the day. The reality is, look, we are still heavily dependent on importation, say. And as it is, a lot of imported goods are going to flag go up. Prices are going to go up. To a great extent, also, there are also questions on importation of fuel eventually.
Yeah.
If you say marketers should now go and source for their own forex, at what rate, if there's no support, what would then be the price of most of these imported products and all of that? You understand? So, for me, I think it's a good policy, but I'm hoping to see how eventually it will impact the lives of ordinary Nigerians. Because again, on the surface, yes, it's going to help solve this problem of accountability when it comes to the management of our forex. But for me, this is just trying to tinker with a simple monetary policy. The policy and the ultimate goal say should be
Fuad, we can barely hear you. Hello?
Is it better now?
Okay,
Is it
yes,
better now?
yes, please. You might need to restate your last comment.
What I'm saying is that the ultimate goal for me would be about how we can balance our trade, when it comes to foreign trade and earnings of forex. Because the ultimate goal for me, that should be the ultimate goal of the government. I understand where the government is coming from on this particular point. We need to clean up our house a bit when it comes to the management of our forex, and it would help. But going forward, I think we should now concentrate on key sectors of the economy that can earn us more forex. You know, let us be more productive, fire our industries, let's balance our trade, clean up the oil sector, let's meet our quota, be more accountable, so that we can earn enough, we can bring in more forex with what we do internally. And then see what happens going forward. But again, on this policy, I think to a great extent it will bring some level of accountability on how we manage our forex. But I fear for the ordinary people, I fear for people who will not be able to play hard in a strong capitalist economy that we are pushing ourselves towards. Again, do you have any other choice? I don't think so. Everything good here becomes a problem.
I don't know, Fuad, do you think this will maybe help eradicate this monopoly of markets? Because at least now that they're trying to harmonize it, buyers, sellers in the foreign exchange market, they can quote whatever rates they find to be okay. So if one person is cheaper than the other, for example, those who need forex can approach the person who's cheaper. It would create a portal for competition. So the other person might be also forced to reduce their rates to get people to patronize them. So don't you think that maybe this would open the door for, or to minimize the monopoly of market that has been the norm over a long period of time? I don't know if that's a perspective we can explore.
Are you aware that that's always the argument of deregulation?
Yes, and also in the petroleum sector,
capitalism. Look, capitalists will always argue. We always tell you that look, the advantage of capitalism is that look, the market is free for everybody to play in. But we always know that even in a capitalist economy, there are always dominant players who determine the pace and how things go. If you understand, there are a lot of sectors in Nigeria that we see, to always argue that look, it's a free market, people can play in it. But eventually we always discover that look, there are always dominant players who determine what happens in that sector. So we deregulated the diesel market for anybody to do, but at the end of the day, we still discover that look, it will still be dominant, it is still dominated by a number of players in that sector who determine what happens at the end of the day. Sage, look, pull out the dollar market now for anybody to play in and then source for dollar from anywhere and everywhere. But the reality is that there are still going to be dominant players who will determine the exchange rate at the end of the day.
Right. Anyways, you can get more information on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, and the story continues on page 6. Please and please, it's not time for us to start taking contributions. At least let's listen to the stories first. When it's time to take contributions at 8:40, we will open the phone lines. All right, please just give us a minute to get through these stories. Thank you so much for your understanding. And moving forward, we have another headline here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. DSS invites suspended EFCC chairman. That is the story. Fuad, your best friend. The Department of State Services has invited Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa, the suspended chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The invitation follows his indefinite suspension by President Bola Tinubu yesterday. This was contained in a statement by the Director of Information at the State House, Willie Bassi, yesterday. And according to the statement, the action followed weighty allegations of abuse of office leveled against Bawa. Although not specified, they're saying there's some very heavy allegations that have been leveled against the now suspended EFCC chairman Bawa. Fuad, I don't know if you remember the back and forth and the altercation that happened between himself and the former Zamfara State Governor Matawali. Accusations of bribery, where Matawali was claiming Bawa had proposed that if you want us to drop the investigation that is being conducted against you, pay a certain amount of money. Matawali said he turned it down. Again, operative word here is allegation. All right. So, Fuad, what do we make of this? What exactly do you expect to come out of first this suspension and also the probing of Bawa? If you can, maybe in a minute or two, do something of an appraisal of how well you even think he performed as the EFCC boss, and then these allegations that are being leveled against him, abuse of office, among other things.
I'm sorry if I was so appraised him. I'll say that he really did not bring anything new to the table as EFCC chair. It's severally on this show, we reviewed the papers where there were several cases of contempt of court brought against him.
Yeah.
You remember, there were several cases of contempt of court, disobeying court orders, refusing to appear, refusing to honor court judgments and all of that. So for me, I would say that, look, beyond us seeing in parade Yahoo boys every time telling us about, yes, look, okay, let's ask ourselves, just mention one high profile case that was prosecuted under Bawa, just one that you can remember.
They're always investigating. Is it they are investigating?
No, the only thing we keep saying is that there are convictions against Yahoo boys, and that's something, like I said, really did not bring anything new. I'm saying that I have my fears completely about our fight against corruption. And I'll tell you why. Look, my fears again is that, look, I think if we are serious about fighting corruption in Nigeria, we have to find a way and immediately create a legislative framework, a legal framework that will ensure complete independence of the EFCC and the ICPC. When they decide to merge the two agencies, because again, there also a report that suggested that, look, there's no reason why we are having the EFCC and the ICPC. But beyond all of that matter, I think it is important that again we have the framework, the legal framework that brought about the creation of the EFCC, and how we can guarantee complete independence of the EFCC to be able to prosecute cases without interference. I'll explain further.
Yes.
Look at how Bawa emerged as the chair of the EFCC. Remember that, look, he came on board as a result of frivolous strong-up allegations against Magu, the former EFCC, that was superintended and piloted by the Attorney General, the immediate past Attorney General Malami. It was a complete confrontation between Malami and Magu, and it was clear that Malami did not want Magu for whatever reason we did not know. There were allegations and counter-allegations, and as I speak to you today, all of the allegations against Magu have not been substantiated. In fact, there are reports that most of those allegations are actually false and frivolous. But to that extent, Magu was removed because you had an Attorney General who was hell-bent on removing Magu, and he did just that. We cannot forget in the hurry when the presidency sent the name of Magu to the Senate for confirmation, and in the same presidency, the DSS was writing the Senate to say that Magu had questions. So it was obvious that, look, there was a lot of power play in the way Magu was removed. And that was what paved way for the emergence of Bawa. A young guy, he's 40 years, there was so much said about it. But I'm not saying I did not bring anything to the table. Because there are even allegations that, look, he was operating clearly on the dictate of the Attorney General, the immediate past Attorney General. Too much influence around him on the kinds of cases he was allowed to pursue, on the focus of the EFCC and all of that. And if you look at the issue of the EFCC case, there's hardly any of the EFCC chair that did not go in this manner. One allegation or the other. Look, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's tenure was when we created the EFCC. What did he use the EFCC for? Political vendetta. You were not in the good books of Obasanjo, the EFCC comes after you. So instead of the EFCC being so independent to pursue real corruption cases, it became a tool for political vendetta. And I don't think we have gotten out of it. So what I'm saying is need. And so whether this government will make it a priority or we look into it. I'm not going to be celebrating the rule of power. It was bound to happen. But my main concern is that, look, as a country, are we really ready to fight corruption? Are we really ready to hold our public officials accountable with what they do with the resources of the people? I doubt it really. Because again, what you are going to see is all out there. The DSS will invite power, there will be investigation. The reality is that, look, power is gone. Forget about suspension thing. Okay, law, anything suspension, that was how Magu started. Magu started with suspension too.
Sure.
So, but I'm afraid that, look, we are not completely serious about the fight against corruption. But I always ask the question, who is going to bail the cat? Look, if most of our public officials, elected senators, House of Reps members, have one allegation or another when it comes to corruption and all of that handling of their name, will they be ready to bail the cat to create a proper legislative framework that will ensure and guarantee the independence of the EFCC in terms of the composition of the board, even the appointment of the chair. I'm not comfortable again saying that the appointment of the chair is even coming from the executive. We should have an anti-graft agency that functions independently. I'm telling you, that's the only way.
You think there will be interference? The executive, because they have a hand in the appointments, can interfere in the operations of the
there has always been, look, there has always been interference. That's what I'm telling you. I started with Obasanjo's era. It has always been like that. The Buhari era, the allegations are that Buhari was not really interfering with cases. But the Attorney General was pretending over cases, deciding which file should go or which file should be removed. Are we going to forget in the early stage how some people were pardoned, convicted people?
Oh, yes.
The convictions that happened, look, the only time we had governors really being convicted for cases of fraud and misappropriation of funds was during Magu. And look, Magu was removed. What did you see? Those same governors were pardoned. So I say again that, look, I'm not, look, the DSS will invite power, they've done that. It makes anything with the DSS. I'm hoping that, look, because again, we have to talk about fundamental human rights of these people too.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm thinking that, look, if there are allegations, if there are things against the military, it should be appearing in court now.
Yes, because you have just 24 hours to hold the person.
I'm thinking that we were holding him for too long. He's a Nigerian, and he deserves to be treated, within the ambit of the law. We are a country governed by law.
Yes.
And I said that by now, whatever investigations and all of that, it should be in the court if there are cases against him. And if there are no cases against him, well, we can allow the matter with freedom.
Yes. I mean, that's what the law provides. Yeah.
That's what the law provides. The power guy has been invited now, but they say, I'm not excited. The reality is that, look, this suspension was just to, allow him go. So I'm going to appoint people now. It's going to be the same old story, say. The same old story. The politicians will still do what they have been doing. Our public officials will still do what they have been doing. Most probably, we're going to have another EFCC chair, and the only thing we're going to be seeing is parade of Yahoo boys on TV and all of that. The politicians know their way to this thing, and until we have a properly independent EFCC stage, nothing will change.
Right. Page 3 of the Guardian newspaper is where you find more information. It's 3 minutes past 8 a.m. here in the city of Lagos, Nigeria, or wherever you're listening to us from. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. Fuad Said is also with us here. We're looking through the papers and having conversations about the report. At 8:40, we'll open the phone lines, all right? We'll take contributions, but for now, just stay with us, go along with us as we look through these stories. Don't go anywhere. Moving forward to other headlines now on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. INEC Labour Party bicker over subpoena as Obi tenders IREV report. That is the headline. Now to the body of this story. Okay, there's a writer in here. Court admits statistical report in Atiku's petition. But the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has lamented alleged refusal by the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, to accept summons and produce documents before the court. Although the counsel for INEC, Kemi Pinero, argued it was untrue that the subpoena could not be served on the INEC boss, adding that it had become a pattern for Obi to look for a scapegoat. So basically, this is just developing stories regarding the elections petitions that is currently going on. Labour Party standard bearer Peter Obi is accusing Mahmood Yakub of refusing to attend summons, refusing to produce documents that he thinks would be useful for his case in court and what have you. And then we have the INEC legal representation saying this is not the case at all. There were no copies of subpoenas submitted to them, and Peter Obi was fond of making accusations as this one. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, see, again, a lot of things happening at the election tribunal. We'll be seeing evidence is admitted by the court. I see that, to some extent, I see a lot of people making mistakes on thinking that, look, if a court admits an evidence, automatically it's going to help your case. The admittance of evidence does not mean that, look, it's going to help any case in any way. The question would be that evidence has been admitted. How relevant is that
it to the case, right?
Itself, So it's not, look, your lawyer can push through a situation where evidence is admitted by the court, argue their case and ensure that the court admits their evidence. But ultimately, the decision of the court will now be based on the relevance of that evidence to the case. If you understand what I'm saying, because there's a lot of people on social media already debating, saying all manner of things. The reality is that, look, court cases are not depending on emotion, sentiment and emotion. You can bring all of the evidence in the world, but the question is how relevant are those evidence to the case and your prayers in the court. So again, because we don't want to go prejudicial, we are not, it's not in our own job or tradition to begin to overanalyze a case in court. What I would just say is that, look, eventually, like I always say, there's a timeline to these things. 180 days or less than the tribunal will give its judgment, and then we take it from there. I know that this will go to the wires. I always say we are going to end up in the Supreme Court eventually for a final decision and closure on the case. So let's just hang on. But it's good that we report this in the papers are talking about it.
Yes. Page 3 of the Guardian newspaper is where you get more information. Please forgive me. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, by the way. So if you're unable to access us via your regular radio, you can do so as long as you have access to the internet. Go to Facebook, go to YouTube, Mainland 98.3 FM. We're streaming live so you can see everything going on in the studio and participate in the conversation that is happening right now. We have more headlines here. Outrage as Kano government demolishes multi-million naira monument. Okay. The Kano State government has demolished the famous Golden Jubilee Monument, a multi-million naira statue constructed by immediate past governor Abdullahi Ganduje's administration. A special task force on demolition yesterday leveled the aesthetic structure built in 2017 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the state. Now, although the current administration of Governor Abba Kabiru Yusuf is engaged in an ongoing demolition of several structures allegedly sold illegally to individuals by Ganduje, it has been disclosed that the rationale behind the demolition of the monument was for security and safety reasons. Fuad, it's been established many times that anytime there is no smooth relationship between a past and present administration, controversy will definitely come up, right? And we don't know if this is something of should I say a clapback, if you allow me to use that terminology. As you can see now in Kano State, multiple demolitions have been going on, especially since the new governor, that's Abba Kabiru Yusuf, assumed power in Kano State. Although many are saying that the demolition of certain structures like schools and I think certain structures basically that were believed to have been sold illegally to private individuals, that the demolitions might be necessary. The government needs to reclaim these properties and use them for structures that would be beneficial to the general populace. But then this particular demolition of the Golden Jubilee Monument has caused a lot of backlash for the present administration. Although their explanation is that first things first, there's a projection that that particular monument would collapse between now and 2024. They say that the materials that were used were substandard, and so it's a risk. They say that it's too high, and because of that, it would affect security in the states. They might not be able to see ahead. It's a number of reasons that were listed here. They even said it poses traffic challenges around the area because of its size, and it's blocking the views of the drivers accessing all routes linking to the roundabout. So those are some of the reasons that the present administration has given for demolishing that particular monument. What are those reasonable enough, justification for the demolition, or you think they're just whining us?
You see, what they are whining, they are whining. I'm not part of the people they are whining. I'm not part of the people they are whining with. But what is happening in Kano is just pure politics. I listened to Ganduje, the newly passed governor, and then Kwankwanso, who is actually, the father figure for the new governor, Abba Yusuf. And when they visited the president on these particular cases of harassment, demolition, and all of that. As a state, Ganduje said that, look, if he had the opportunity, he was going to slap Kwankwanso, they are still as killer. I would beat him up. And I looked at, when he said that thing, I looked at Ganduje, I looked at Kwankwanso. He don't go beat this guy. He looked at their physique, when he gave, that was the right hand. But when Kwankwanso was also talking, what he said basically was that, look, people don't understand politics. Although he was trying to justify the demolition, saying for security concerns,
yes,
the fact
traffic and all that.
Traffic, that the fact that people bought the land. I think he was mentioning a particular university that Ganduje bought the land and built a mall for himself and his children and all manner of things. And that was the reason why they were demolishing. I think he said they were going to demolish 4 areas, 4 particular points in Kano and all of that. But see, this is just pure politics. And the two figures in this battle is Ganduje and Kwankwanso. You see, the unfortunate thing is that, look, these politicians are not actually fighting for the interest of Kano people. Because what we are seeing, the battle that we are seeing in Kano is a battle of political dominance. Who is going to be the political fatal figure in Kano State? You have the Ganduje movement. Although Ganduje used to be a prodigy of Rabiu Kwankwanso, we have to establish that. He was like the political son, a political prodigy of the Kwankwanso movement, the Kwankwansia movement, until he became the governor and broke out of that particular movement. But I'm not my worry about the Kwankwansia movement. Because what you see is, Kwankwanso trying to politically personalize, the life of everybody in Kano State. You have everybody wearing this red cap thing, and I'm like, when people try to personalize this thing, it happens here in Lagos too, where it's not about the people, it's just about one man who is trying to make himself like the godfather of everything. And that's what I'm saying in Kano State. Everybody now wears one red cap, and then they swear allegiance to Rabiu Kwankwanso than the Kano people. That in itself disturbs me. I'm not saying whatever Ganduje did was right. He had his own issues too, a lot of issues. There are still a lot of corruption allegations against him. Remember the Gandola allegation, where videos show that he was receiving dollar from a contractor. So that
and use import are respective looked at. Even the BRICS condola, if you the Kenyan president, he's known
an African. He said look, borrowing, the revenue profile detached from it's not determined by the dollar.
Right.
To the extent that look, we are not even allowing for us to trade in other currencies. The Chinese yen is there. There are other currencies that we can trade. So again, it even goes beyond the dollarization of the African market. It's about our thinking as African people. How well are we liberated ourselves? Or are we planning to liberate ourselves? Or are we determined to liberate ourselves from the echo string of our Western colonialism when it comes to economy and our political life? I feel ashamed a lot of times saying, when I see African leaders going cap in hand to begin to beg for all manner of foreign aid, beg for all manner of support. I think recently I saw African leaders queuing behind the French president on a particular summit on education in Africa. The French president is the one telling us how to run education in Africa. And you see the entire African president go there to queue behind it, to listen to how to run education in Africa and support for education in Africa. So I always say, look, there are leaders that look we really did not meet as young people, but we studied their orientation. We understood them. Look at what NK Abiola said. I think we played it during the June 12th celebration about having foreign imposed expatriates and professionals coming to dictate how you live your life. And that was when he gave the analogy that look, the best medical doctor in Sweden may not have seen malaria all his life before, but he comes here and begins to tell you how to live your life when it comes to the health sector. And that he said all that nonsense was stuff. I always say it again, the great for Bafemi Awolowo, that until African countries sit back and develop from within, look at its own resources, God given resources, and begin to build it, nothing is going to change in Africa. I must say that one African leader I'm paying serious attention to in his thinking, in his governance style, is the new president of Kenya, Ruto. He seems to understand what Africa needs, but again, how many of the leaders have that kind of orientation and mentality? How many of them?
Not a lot, unfortunately. Well, Kenya president wants less circulation of dollars in Africa. You've heard Fuad's perspective on that particular matter. This is still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Final story on the front page of The Guardian. Federal government to begin disbursement of student loans in September. That's the headline. And now the federal government has confirmed working out modalities to begin disbursement of student loans between September and October this year. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Andrew David Adejo, made a disclosure yesterday in Abuja while addressing the press of the piece of legislation. President Bola Tinubu had signed into law the student loan bill in fulfillment of his campaign promise, and the law is to provide easy access to higher education for poor Nigerians through interest-free loans from the Nigeria Education Loan Fund. So, Fuad, yesterday we analyzed, over the course of the week, we've been analyzing this student loan or this initiative by the federal government. Many questions have been asked about, some of the terms and conditions attached to the loan. Some think it needs to be reviewed. But then again, speaking about hitting the ground running, it seems that this particular bill would take effect in September to October of this particular year. Is that enough time for them to rectify whatever mishaps have been highlighted by experts? Do you think that is too soon? Do you think that maybe they should take some time to really think this process through before their planned implementation in September and October?
Well, you see, like every other thing that we are celebrating now, especially supporters of this government, I would say that, look, we have to see this policy implemented first before we make further comments. Because there's a lot of misconception and a lot of misunderstanding of our perception or our view on this particular policy. You see, having a student loan arrangement is not a problem. But on the surface, it looks very, very good. But there are a lot of questions, that we must ask ourselves. But I always say it is important that we pay attention to those little details on how this particular policy will be implemented. This is not the first time that we've had a similar policy that looks very good in the books. Then it comes to implementation level, it becomes a problem. Now, the reality is this. I still have questions, and I'm thinking that I'm waiting to see when the new president or his cabinet is formed, and they begin to tell us their direction when it comes to funding of our education, of our university, our tertiary education.
Yes.
Because it's already been muted, that look, they will be working towards asking off, financing our universities. So what manner of tuition are we going to see? What manner of funding are we going to see? What manner of running and management of our universities are we going to see at the end of the day? That's our own concern, really. The funds are going to start. The disbursement will start in September, according to the permanent secretary now. And so when we now begin to see people applying for the funds and getting the conditions attached, how easy they are able to access the funds and all of that, I think until then we'll now be able to make further comments on it. So people don't misunderstand our position on it.
Right.
Or my own position on it.
Right. Thank you, Fuad. That's it for the Guardian newspaper. At the front page of the Punch, we're moving to Punch now. Private sector economists back CBN. Naira falls to 664 Naira per dollar. Right after this, CBN allows bank to sell dollar at their own price. Removes cap on exchange rate. Economists, analysts worry over central bank's capacity to stabilize stabilize exchange rates. I think this is also the worry of Fuad, funny enough, how well they can stabilize this, how well they can sustain this, and the implications that might most likely, follow this decision in the long term if we don't do the right thing. We've spoken about this story. Tinubu suspends EFCC chair indefinitely. Others probe. This is about the suspension and the questioning of EFCC chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. Also spoken about student loan disbursement begins in September, says the federal government. That was the last story we analyzed on the front page of The Guardian earlier. Still in Punch, we have other stories here. Tinubu mourns 106 Kwara boat accident victims, 144 rescued. It was a very sad event in Kwara State. Apparently, about 250 people were victims of a boat accident. Although 144 of those people were rescued, the rest unfortunately died. It was a village in Boti via Patigi. They were going to a wedding ceremony, or they were guests of a wedding ceremony, and then there was a tragic boat accident that led to their death. And the president have, of course, sent his condolence messages and asked that an investigation be carried out to determine what was the cause of the accident. Fuad, would you say something briefly about this?
Well, I think the last time the news broke, I said it that we have a lot of issues with safety in the country.
Yeah, no life jackets, nothing.
Nothing, you know that sometimes even when you have this boat ride, the life jacket is not even working. They just put it on you to show that you have a life jacket. And then you a lot. I think life jacket has expiry date and some other things, features that will make it work if there's an emergency. So you have situations where they just give you something, just put it on that there's a life jacket on you. And then what about response? If something of this nature happens, are there arrangements to see another boat quickly coming to see how they can rescue people and all of that? So we have those things in place. So generally, I think we have an issue with safety generally. It's not about boats and all of that. It's even about our line like the people.
Generally.
We don't pay attention to details when it comes to safety, and this is unfortunate, really.
Right, thank
the
you.
question again will now be, how do we ensure that something like this does not happen again?
Right.
We can mourn, we can do what we want to say, condolences, and all of that. But what are we going to do going forward that something like this does not happen again?
Right. Page 3, 4, and 5 of the Punch newspaper has details of that particular story. Moving on very briefly, President projects 500,000 jobs with data protection law. Now, the President, Bola Tinubu, signed the Data Protection Bill into law on Monday, 12 June 2023. The Nigeria Data Protection Bureau has disclosed, and according to the Bureau, about 500,000 jobs are expected to be created through the training of data protection officers and licensing of data protection compliance organizations to offer services to data controllers and processors. One of the bills that have been signed by the President includes the Data Protection Law, which, data protection, we're not talking about your internet data, we're talking about your personal information, right? Your personal information, so it doesn't leak. When you register for things, you put your name, your email, personal information, just to protect it so that hackers don't have access to it. And this apparently is supposed to provide about 500,000 jobs, because you remember he did say he will provide jobs in the digital space when during his initial speech during his inauguration. So for exciting days ahead of us, the possibility of 500,000 youths getting a job after they are trained to engage in data protection services. Optimism, or how do you feel?
Well, a good one. Every Nigerian that can take off the unemployment market is a good one. If you just want, even if you just 10 people that were able to create a situation that takes them off the unemployment market, I think we have to commend it. So again, another bill has been signed. We've been seeing a lot of signing. And all of that. But I must say that, look, we seem to have a president that is completely different from the last one we had. I think we need to say that for a fact. Because I must say that, look, we have a lot of activities going on around him. This is not motion without movement. We are saying motion while we are saying movement. But where we are moving to is a question. And that's why I'm saying that we should calm down before we begin to celebrate our movement.
Right.
Yes, there's motion, there's movement. Where we are moving to, I think that we should calm down until we see where we are actually going to before we begin to celebrate. But a very good one, if we're able to get people out of the employment market.
Right. The impact of the movements too is something that we're looking forward to at the end of the day. Right. Okay.
And like the last president that movement.
Fuad, remove this thing from your chest. Remove it from your chest. All right, we have more. You can get more information on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. The final headline here: no division in Akeredolu's cabinet, state acting governor. The acting governor of Odo State, Mr. Loki Aye Datiwa, on Wednesday dismissed insinuations that there is rancor or division in the cabinet of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu owing to the governor's ill health. Because of our time, we can't really go through the entire story, but as you know, it did break yesterday that Rotimi Akeredolu have handed over power to his deputy, and in fact has decided to leave the country to cater to his health. And now the acting governor, Aye Datiwa, is telling us that there is no problem at all. Yes, I now have control of the state and what have you, but there is absolutely no cause for alarm. Everything is
Fine.
perfect. Yes.
Really.
Why do you have trust issues?
You don't trust issues. At least he has to make politically correct statements.
Right.
You must understand that, look, after all the back and forth on whether it was going to be handed over to and all of that, now he has, the proper thing has been done. I think he needs to calm all nerves by the statements he makes. I'm sure that it's not going to be just his statements. They're going to be watching out for his movement
Yes.
and action.
Mm.
There's a lot of, I'm sure that as they're handing over to him, there are people that also been victims to begin to take him. Am I sure? Look at what he's doing. I don't know, but again, I think we wish the governor well. Arakuri Akeredolu well. He has to, tries to get his health back. Anybody can fall to him.
Yes.
It's not a
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
I think in situations like that, we should look at the interest of the people more than our own personal interest.
True, I agree with you. That's it for the Punch newspaper. For the Nation, the headlines, majority of these stories have been addressed, but CBN abolishes multiple naira dollar exchange rates, market-driven currency regime excites financial experts. Other headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper: student loan law takes off in September, benefits open to all. Outrage over death of 106 in Kwara boat accident. Don't shift blame for sloppy handling of your case, INEC tells Labour Party Obi's lawyers. Federal government's 819 billion naira extra budget littered with ghost projects. I wish we had time to talk about this. Maybe when we come back for Mainland Focus. Federal government's 819 billion naira extra budget littered with ghost projects. Tinubu orders probe of EFCC chairman's tenure. Those are the reports on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Finally, for Vanguard, naira depreciates to 664.04 naira per dollar as CBN removes restrictions. Student loan, ASUP say no to tuition fee hike. INEC chairman evading service of witness summons, Obi tells court. Tinubu suspends EFCC boss Bawa indefinitely, and NUPRC battle over NMDPR over control of Bonny River Terminal. And that is it for Trends in the Papers this morning. Thank you so much for your participation. It's not goodbye yet. We're just going to take a brief recess. At 8:40, we'll be back for Mainland Focus. It's open mic Thursday. I know the majority of you look forward to Thursday because you can raise any issue that you like without any restrictions whatsoever. So at 8:40, we'll be back so that we can take your submissions on stories that you find important. We would also take Fuad's contributions as well. Thank you, Fuad. Don't go anywhere. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
no dey worry you again. That one na before. All thanks to the new Close Complete Fresh Protection.
That's right. The new Close Up Complete Fresh Protection toothpaste gives you complete oral protection with fluoride and antibacterial